time for my favorite part of the day, and clearly yours, Girl Chat!
Yes! Bring it on!
Okay, have a seat. This is juicy. Listen up.
Okay.
So first up, you guys have heard of a breathalyzer test, right?
Yeah.
Some of y'all a little too
Haven't
well.
I heard of it?
Well, what about a textalyzer test? So the state of Nevada is currently trying to pass a proposal that would actually allow police to check a driver's cell phone after a crash.
Nice.
Police say that distracted driving is still a huge problem, and that unlike drunk driving, there are only weak punishments to stop people from using their phones while driving. If passed, police would be able to use a device to connect to the phone and look at the driver's activity to see if they've been texting or even using Facebook. However, critics of the proposal say it poses a huge privacy intrusion and is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable search and seizure. So ladies, would you give a thumbs up or a thumbs down emoji to this new texting law?
I'm gonna give it to the drivers first, and then I'll give my opinion.
You guys said what? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Oh, y'all got something to hide, too.
Yeah, that means all of y'all be texting and driving, putting my life in danger.
Okay, yeah.
Well, let me tell y'all something.
What?
There are nearly 390,000 injuries that occur each year from accidents caused by texting while driving.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And texting while driving is 6 times more likely to cause an accident than driving while drunk. So that's something to think about.
Yeah. That's great. Hey, I'm all for it if it saves lives. That's me.
That's insane.
And if we're gonna be honest, if you have an iPhone, the government is watching and listening anyway. So I got nothing to hide. And then also, you know, you have on your phone, you can go to settings, go to the do not disturb part of your phone, and you can actually activate an auto reply that says do not disturb while driving. Why don't we all try and do that?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't even have to deal with it. You know?
I'll like try to text my puppy, and like a message came up, and it said, "I'm driving. I will call you as soon as I get off the road."
Yeah.
And I thought that was so genius, and at the same time, I was really proud. I was like, "Good job, papi lindo. Don't be texting and driving, because it can be very distracting if you hear a sound going off." And it also tells you that if it's urgent, then you can actually type urgent, and then the message will go through the person.
Yeah. It literally is hard for me to not text and drive. So because of that, I stopped driving and I started to like either I started doing Uber all the time.
And your honesty,
because I'm being really honest. I'm that girl that at the light, I'm gonna check.
Yeah.
Or I'm just gonna send it really quick because I'm driving less than 25 miles per hour. I know, I'm so glad you're being real because I'm a terrible person and I'm glad you are too. No, just kidding. No, but it's something that I was like, yo, if I know that I can physically not control myself to text and drive, then just don't drive and figure out what the other option is.
It's cheaper, and it is cheaper in the sense of like you're not going to jail and paying legal fees, and because sometimes you may be like, oh, it's just cheaper if I drive. It's not. If you kill somebody, if you trust me, it is worth calling the Uber if you think that you can't control yourself.
Yeah, but realistically, a lot of people can't do that. They do have to drive, and I do think that they need to take over. This is a new system. They haven't tried it yet. They haven't installed it. But if we can put a man on the moon, they can figure out a way so that we can check
without
cell phones without going through all y'all stuff, you know.
CarPlay. Do any of you guys have CarPlay in your car?
Yeah.
A lot of you. Okay, so what CarPlay does is you plug your phone in, you have the app on your phone, it connects to your car system, your car sound system, and it actually reads out loud your text messages to you. So it'll be like, if I have you saved with a heart in my phone, so it'll be like, Tamara, pink heart. And then it'll say what she says.
Yeah.
I love you very much, Adrian. You are so amazing. And then I get to reply and say right back to her, love you too, girl.
Yeah.
Exclamation point, and it'll write it for you so that you can text message without actually having to look at it. Is that right how it works? Yeah, there we go. Boom.
Yeah, but they need to, I do think that if a fatality isn't, because, okay, there in some states, say if you have an accident and it's a fatality, I believe, then they can check your phone. The issue is that what you guys are talking about is that a lot of people think that it's against the Fourth Amendment, which is about undue search and seizure. But the thing is that there are some states where they can, if you have an accident and you refuse, then they can fine you. There has to be something done because, like I said, 300,000 injuries due to people texting and driving, and we just need to show the seriousness of it.
If I'm honest, like, I had an experience where I was actually texting, and I almost hit someone. And that scared the bejesus out of me. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm going to take full responsibility of myself, and I'm not going to do that ever again.
So great. That is so great. And I'm telling you, as the passenger, it's low-key disrespectful. Like, I get on my husband anytime he even goes to even GPS. I'm like, baby, you can hear it. You don't have to watch it. Like, you can hear the instructions. I feel like you're taking my life for granted every time you text. So even if you are the passenger, there is a polite and kind way to say, can you please not text while you're driving me?
Well, we're going to be talking about this a lot because they're going to figure out a way to look at y'all phones.
Maybe see, if it's a question of not seeing what you're texting because you feel like that invades your privacy, maybe they don't have to see what you were texting, but they can see your phone activity.
Well, they want to see
was
what the last activity that you did.
I want to see what you were texting, what you were texting.
Well, speaking of an issue that needs to be addressed, researchers at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore recently discovered that in urban areas, about 25% of African American boys under the age of 13 are already having sex.
Wow.
Many of the boys reported that they were coerced or pressured by their peers into having sex before they were ready, with nearly 40% admitting they had mixed feelings about their first sexual experience, while roughly 10% said that it was flat out unwanted. Researchers also found that because of the quality of sex education can vary based on school and religion, many of these young men were not being properly informed of the risks of their behavior. And as a mom of a young boy, I think this is, I mean, it terrifies me. You know, it's really scary, but I think this just shows the importance of having sexual education programs like Reality Check. Reality Check, the reason why I love it so much is that they teach more about just putting a condom on a banana or buying birth control pills. They teach the importance of being ready mentally, physically, and spiritually if you decide to have sex.
Now, what is Reality Check?
Reality Check is a program. It's a sexual educational program that can actually visit your schools, and they actually have age-appropriate curriculums, so they can actually teach to students as young as students in 5th or 6th grade.
Wow.
So that's what I like about it, too, because if you know early at the right time and appropriately, then you can make wiser decisions. They also teach about what a healthy relationship looks like, right? And the reality of sexual diseases. They show real graphic pictures that will scare you behind.
Yes.
That's necessary.
They are awesome. And they'll just come to your school. All you have to do is maybe, you know, make a couple of donations. And they'll actually teach the teachers at the school their curriculum if you don't want them to come.
Well,
but
I dig already.
Amazing.
That's great.
I dig what you just said about their format is that they're not just teaching the physical part of the sex, they're teaching the intimate part of the sex. Are we not forgetting that this actual physical connection should be an intimate basis? Like, we're forgetting that. Yeah, absolutely. And any way that we can teach sex ed without having to roll out that old ass VCR, do you remember?
Yes.
Pulling the dust off of it, having the bird and the rabbit come together. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So this is amazing. No, I'm not surprised though, because I've heard too many stories where young girls are getting pregnant as early as 12. And I'm not surprised that boys are getting that pressure. Every song you listen to, especially from, let's say, a male rapper, it's gonna connotate some type of like hitting it, getting that, you know, all that lifestyle around sex. So I do think though, like there was a person I met and he's attractive, older gentleman, and I hear rumors that men think about sex every like 5 minutes or something, you know, astronomical. And I asked him, like, honestly, how often do you think about sex? How often, you know, are you physical? And he was like, you know what, honestly, I've gotten to a place in my life where just the sex doesn't mean anything. Like now having the connection is more worth something. So I don't think about it as much. And when I do, it's profound. And so when you can train your body to
and your mind
enjoy and your mind to enjoy it because you have a connection with somebody, yo, that's love, you know? Love making.
I feel bad for the peer pressure part.
Well, but I was curious because I was wondering what was the study for non-black males? So I looked it up, and it said, according to the JAMA Pediatrics Medical Journal, recent data revealed that white males and Hispanic males were statistically less significant to report having their first sexual intercourse before the age of 13 than black males. So that's the reason why you have this study. And then overall, it just seems as if, maybe we're not getting the full report. Also, you have to understand, too, they said that lower income children tend to have sex earlier. And that could be because there's only one parent in the house, or maybe because of the way the parent works. So, you have a lot of latchkey kids. So I think it's very important to speak to your children about sex and talk to them about it.
I'm
and
trying
who
to
they're
think
hanging
what
with.
would, like...
What you got on there about Asian males?
Yeah. They didn't put y'all in here.
Wait, but I'm like thinking low income, like that was definitely me. And I'm thinking, what would be the reasons to have had sex earlier? Is it a lack of, well, I grew up in a really urban community, like we didn't have parks and stuff. Like it was the street and basketball, maybe in some basketball courts.
Yeah.
So I think maybe people didn't have hobbies, and you end up staying home and you end up hanging out with friends, and your parents aren't home because they're at work. I'm trying to think of how that could end up happening at a much younger age than other children.
Yeah, boredom. I was a latchkey. I was latchkey.
And your mom probably wasn't home.
My mom was never home because she was working. But what my mom did was she put me. We had a rec center. See, back then we had rec centers.
So we need more community centers for these children to have after-school activities and let them find hobbies that they love, so that they're not, I'm not being funny, but you leave two kids alone in a room for a long period of time. Somebody's going to get curious.
And I go back to parenting. I, to this day, I was raised by Mama Mai and my dad, who are culturally, more traditional. They didn't talk about sex openly. I would have loved having that conversation, just so it didn't feel so taboo. And then sometimes with kids, things that are taboo or forbidden, then you get more curious. You don't know what's, and then before you know it, you're cleaning up the problem rather than learning about.
Yeah, I remember learning about sex in my health class, and it started kind of like in junior high, and then in 9th grade we really, had the talk, the full class, and I just came home and I had the conversation with my mom. So don't just rely, parents, don't just rely on your teachers or the school to do it. You guys have to talk to your children as well.
Alone, Well, speaking of kids, USA Today recently wrote an article asking when the right age is to give your kid a credit card.
Oh,
now,
God.
I don't know about that, but there are currently many cards aimed at young kids, like the Green Light MasterCard, where parents can set spending limits to try and raise a financially smart kid who knows how to operate within a budget. However, there's a debate between parents about how old a child should be before they're allowed to get a card, and if kids should have additional financial guidance simply beyond having a card. For me personally, I don't think a credit card. I think a debit card would be better for a kid. And then that way, because what I do for my nieces and nephews, I have credit cards that not credit cards, debit cards, and I give them an allowance. And then I put it on there, and so they maintain it. So I don't know, but you're a mother.
I was thinking about this. Initially, I was like, no. But I mean, okay, from personal experience, when I got my first credit card, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I didn't pay my bill on time, and it affected my credit score, and it was on there for 7 years. Yeah, so I never want that to happen to any of my children. So I was thinking, all right, if I'm gonna give them a credit card, maybe I'll definitely put, a balance on there, so they can't go crazy with it, and that they can only use it at school. And they're responsible for paying it back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to teach my children how to manage their finances and teach them responsibility in 9th grade. I think that's yes. So at 14 years old maybe. And they would only be able to spend for that card, they can only buy school clothes.
It has a limit.
It has a limit. Buy school clothes, buy lunch, maybe buy books at the, school fair. That way, it's teaching them, okay, I have a limit, don't go over it, and when I have to pay this bill, I should pay the bill. And how they pay that bill is you've got to do, things around the house. So I'll, give you, $20, $50 or whatever if you mow the lawn, you clean up more than just your room. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
help out.
Yeah, so that way they're ready for the real world and they're not shocked when they get out of high school.
I feel like we have so many conversations about sex education. What we really need is money management education.
Yes.
How to handle your credit. I was really ignorant in the sense of I thought, well, I only have a debit card because I don't want to have a credit card, because then if I don't pay it on time, like I'm borrowing the money, and that made me really anxious. So instead, I only had a debit card. What I didn't realize is that actually hurt my credit because I didn't have a line of credit to prove that I was trustworthy enough to lend money to. So thank God I have this guy named Malik Davis. I posted on my Instagram a book that I was reading about how to get great credit. I've been working on it, and that's really important. So for me, Iz and I were talking about possibly giving our child a credit card 12 to 13, similar age like you, because that's when they can, and that's when I really want to start teaching them how to build credit from a young age, be responsible. This is your limit. You have to pay it at a certain time, and I think that that's the most important thing we can teach our children for the next generation to break poverty from generation to generation. It really is something that we have to help.
I'm more like giving them a debit card like when they're
With a
like
limit.
10. You know,
Okay,
as an allowance, stuff like that.
And
so
they
that
can
they
charge
understand
stuff.
spending.
And when the money's up, it's up.
It's
Then you'll be
gone.
overdrawn and have fun with those payments.